The story begins with a disgusting 30-year-old man entering his smelly room, ready to escape his pointless life in a new virtual reality video game. You see, video games make him feel young again, and he can do things that he could never do in real life. He names his character Earth and gives him similar features to himself, boring ones at that. But he does this purposefully as he doesn't want to stand out. Being the type who doesn't want to be the main character himself in the real world, he's a salaryman, so he's limited in the amount of time he can play. Earth is worried that this might cause trouble for the basement dweller gamers if he tried to play with them. So, when it came to picking his special abilities, Earth decided to choose skills that were extremely underpowered in the hopes that the hardcore crowd wouldn't pay much attention to him. Out of his 10 skills, 6 are underpowered. He chose medicine, but potions are available cheap from NPCs, so it's pretty much worthless. He also chose kick, which has no special perks, and you can't beat an enemy in just one hit with it. He even chose archery, though bows are known to have terrible accuracy. His improved physical abilities skill supposedly gives a bonus to things like using a weapon, running, or crafting, but the bonus is insignificant because the skill is so broad. If someone wants to be strong, they should choose more specific skills. He chose a couple more god-awful abilities, and with that, Earth has successfully created one of the worst characters in the game. But this is how he wants it, so other people won't want to play with him, and he can relax and play his own way. Time for Earth's first login, and he's excited. The game is called One More Free Life Online *, and, like the name says, you can enjoy another free life in it. You don't have to complete any with the final boss type of quests, so players are free to spend all their time fighting monsters, crafting cool stuff, or even just hanging out and talking to other players. It's a game for people who want to live another life. On the first day, the place is completely packed. Upon Earth's arrival, a random girl calls out to him, trying to sell him some equipment. However, just then, a party of heroes appears in the sky, showing off their abilities. Earth notes how there aren't any other archers apart from him. But suddenly, a guy dressed in gold-plated armor appears behind him and begins scolding the newbie. Earth thought, what an unlucky way to start his first day. The guy patronized him for picking a bow because they're so useless, going on to call him an idiot, a weirdo with the face of a loser. After humiliating Earth in front of everyone, the guy decides to leave. Earth says, I guess they didn't like my bow. People here don't seem to like archers. But Earth believes that's better for him. Next, Earth visits the training hall and gets excited upon seeing everyone working hard, practicing. So, he whips out his garbage bow to give it a try. He draws the bow back and takes a shot, but completely whiffs and hits the floor. He tries again and again, but can't even hit the damn target. Earth realizes the bow is even worse than he thought. Finally, he manages to at least hit the target after firing 100 shots and ranks up to level 5. Earth then tries his kick skill, which has gotten a lot stronger. He also tries out his vine spell, which he notes is a lot more accurate than the bow. Now, with the minimum skills he needs to survive, Earth heads out into the field, but sees that it's a mess with all the new players. So instead, he decides to focus on gathering some herbs. He turns the other way, and at that moment, his long-distance vision skill activates, which points to exactly where the herbs are. However, even after picking them up, he gets no info on what it is, so he decides to go back and appraise it. At first, he kept messing up and losing his herbs before he could identify them, but he started to get the hang of it pretty quickly. As his medicine level goes up, he's able to figure out which category an herb goes in. His only problem is that he found 2 suffocation herbs, described as whoever eats this will instantly stop breathing and die. This makes him mad as he wonders what on earth the devs were thinking putting this item of death in the first area. But he's relieved he learned how to appraise things before using them. Next, Earth went to a potion store to buy a beginner's medicine crafting set. After carefully following the instructions, he manages to craft a common healing potion, the most basic of all healing items. He also crafted a common anti-poison potion, and with that, his medicine skill goes up to level 7. Now it's time to go hunting. So, he ventures out to hunt and spots his first monster, a horned rabbit. Earth knows he needs to aim his first shot well because of the bow's crooked accuracy. He misses his first shot, and the rabbit charges at him so quickly. He fires another arrow, wounding its arm but not stopping it completely. However, with a swift kick, he sends the rabbit flying, finally killing it and making it his meal. Just then, 2 other players arrive, a blue-haired girl and her friend, who is laughing like crazy at Earth. He tells them that he's killed several horned rabbits, but has never seen them make noises like this one did when it was kicked, which he finds hilarious. The redhead maniac introduces himself as Sway, and the girl is called Millie. They soon leave after friending each other and decide to party up sometime later. Earth then uses his numerous skills to hunt more monsters and makes use of his wind magic to defeat another horned rabbit. He then remembers his sneak skill, which he finds allows him to attack much more accurately and quickly while using it. Later, Earth spends his free time cooking the meat in his inventory, but is trying to perfect it to get a higher score. He experiments with it and finally lands a score of 7 on his steak. However, the village becomes distracted by the luscious aroma, and they all rush to him. Earth sees this as an opportunity to get rich and increase his cooking level. He works on making himself a new bow to hunt with because there is no supply or demand for them, so he has to make one himself. Gradually, Earth is mastering all of his weak skills without even realizing it. He then remembers that he just spent most of his cash to buy armor. To recoup that money, he decides to use the game's vending machines to start selling grape-flavored healing potions and see if players would like them. Later, he heads out to the field to hunt some monsters. While analyzing a few nearby, he chooses the wolf since it's the closest. Earth activates his sneak skill and fires with his bow. He then proceeds to his next hunt, training his kick and wind magic skills as well. He manages to defeat several monsters, acquiring various types of items and increasing the levels of his 3 attacks. However, after hunting so much, he runs out of arrows and decides to call it a day. Upon returning, he sees that the town is filled with people begging for potions, but he's confused since potions are cheap and easily available from NPCs. He calls Sway and discovers that NPCs have run out of potions. Now, everyone wants to come after Earth for his. Later, Sway and Millie show up to help him with crowd control, so he can focus on making more potions. After selling out for the day, he tells everyone to come back tomorrow. However, the bullies from earlier arrive and start fighting with Sway as Earth refuses to serve them for not standing in the queue and waiting for their turn. Earth warns the Mohawk guy that he will end up making an enemy of everyone if he continues with this attitude, but the Mohawk guy doesn't seem to take the hint and challenges him to a duel. Despite Sway warning Earth, he accepts the challenge. He believes he's at an advantage because his opponent is arrogant, and this will give Earth a chance to hit him in his weak spot. Earth shifts to the side for a swift dodge and then attacks him up close, taking him out like a boss. The crowd cheers him on while the bullies decide to run away. Earth tells everyone that he will open up shop again tomorrow and logs out for the day. Since the disappearance of potions, medicine is no longer considered a useless skill and is now one of the most demanded ones in the game. Earth ends up accepting Sway's invite as he is the guild master of blue color, and he introduces Earth to the rest of the members. One of them is a girl named Nora, who claims to be skilled in melee combat using short blades. Next, he meets Rage, a tank wielding an axe and shield, responsible for drawing enemy attacks. Finally, Earth meets Kmine, a one-handed swordsman. After getting to know everyone, Earth begins to introduce himself, but everyone already knows he is an archer. Sway explains that he has become quite famous among players after winning the duel against the Mohawk guy. So, he skips his introduction, but asks if the group is indeed balanced since they have 4 frontline members, and Millie is a magic user. However, Nora tells him that Millie can use more than one skill, and can also use healing magic. Earth is then told that they will go hunting for a rare wild bear today, and they are counting on him for his support. Sway even announces that Earth will be the one cooking for them after their hunt. Although Earth is worried since a wild bear is a strong and tough opponent, Earth uses his vision skill to spot them, but only finds them in groups. Eventually, he finds a bear that is all alone, so they plan out a strategy to defeat it. Earth sneaks in from behind and attacks the bear, which makes it go into a rage and charge after him. Rage steps in to divert its attention and activates his aggro control. Monsters have hidden parameters, which can help determine who they are mad at. Rage will direct the bear's anger toward him and protect the others. This gives Earth the chance to aim and attack from a hidden spot. They all rush in to attack the bear using their different powers, but it overpowers them. Earth realizes they are in a weak position, so he trusts in his 38 years of experience and makes the decision to attack the bear between its eyes, thinking that might be its weakest point. But once his arrow hits, it makes the bear even angrier. So, Earth uses his skill acquired at level 15 of Wind Magic and goes all out. His speed intensifies, and he kicks the bear on its forehead. He then signals to Millie to use her fire land skill, and finally, they kill off the bear. Sway then apologizes to the members for taking them on a hunt without assessing its danger completely. However, Earth tells him not to worry and suggests they head over for lunch as he is treating them. He makes them wolf kebabs, and they all seem to love it. Zoo suggests that Earth should be their new cook from now on, but Earth isn't too pleased about this. He then goes to hunt on his own, but ends up running into a large rock ant, which has a linking ability it uses to call backup. Earth ends up getting wrecked, as the rock ants can deflect damage. He ends up back in the town as a penalty for dying. Just then, all the players receive a message about a new update in the game, which reveals that they will now be assisted by fairies on their missions. They will also be getting brand new weapons and skills. Earth works his way out of his penalty and ends up learning blacksmithing. He builds an arrowhead that can pierce the rock ant's head. He uses two different types of iron to make an iron arrowhead, which will give him a level 7 attack when combined with a wooden arrow. He also makes a heavy blunt arrowhead, which has an attack level of 8. Additionally, he upgrades his shoes by placing thorns underneath them and builds ice skates with extra sharp blades. Earth's archery level has reached Ed 30, so now he wants to specialize. He opts for the hunting bow, as it has the same range and powers that Earth has been using. He then makes a unique bow in the shape of an X. This bow will strengthen his attacks against monsters. The next day, Earth takes out his new bow for a test hunt. He finally spots a rock ant and launches his attack. He strikes one arrow that causes fatal damage to the ant and wastes no time shooting his iron arrowhead, which kills it instantly. He then gets rid of all the rock ants and collects their exoskeletons to later help him with building armor. It is time to make a contract with the fairies, and Earth is excited. He begins the ritual, but is left disappointed when the crystal blast breaks halfway. He shows it to Sway and is shocked to see that everyone else was successful in making contact with their fairies. However, Millie assures him that he still has a chance since the second half remains, and the crystal has not disappeared. What surprises the other members is that all the fairies have taken a liking to Earth and are clinging to him. They are furious and call him a fairy player for using his riz on the fairies. The fairies have been extra friendly toward him, but he tells one that he can't make a contract with her since his crystal is broken. Just then, Earth sees that his skills have gone up, so he decides to enter his first dungeon. He walks through the darkness of the cave, reminiscing about exploring places like this as a child, having fun knowing he can relive this experience thanks to the game. However, now it is even more thrilling. Suddenly, in a darker section, Earth encounters a giant spider. He shoots an arrow at the creature and then unleashes several wind magic attacks, but the spider only suffers minimal damage. He attempts to strike using his high jump skill, but accidentally hits his head on the cave ceiling. Nevertheless, he recovers quickly, snares the spider with a rope, and delivers a kick, managing to defeat it. He celebrates the victory, although his head still throbs from the impact. At that moment, several dark fairies appear, and Earth realizes they want him to follow them. He follows the fairies, using a new ability called Gravity Center Stabilization, allowing him to traverse the path without stumbling. Later, he realizes he has finally arrived at the place the fairies want him to be. They have gathered in one spot and are pointing toward a stone. Earth moves the stone, revealing a secret door with a chest behind it. Inside, he finds an ancient ring hidden in the chest. Despite not knowing its purpose, Earth decides to keep it. He thanks the fairies for helping him find the item. Just then, he receives a game notification announcing that the second half of the fairy update will finally be revealed. Earth then heads to the city, where the game announces that the name of the second half of the event is Battle with the Fairies. After participating in battles and PvP fights, fairies can evolve and take on new forms. The game emphasizes that this will only happen if players battle with different people, providing an excellent opportunity for them to get to know other players. Additionally, the top 16 in the PvP are invited to the tournament, with special prizes for the winners. Another update includes titles and distinctions that players receive based on their gameplay style. The game also informs players like Earth, who have failed to acquire fairies, that they can restore their contract crystals through special PvP. This not only guarantees success, but also offers a higher chance of obtaining a rare fairy. The game states that, from now on, fairies will have a self-identity, leading to changes in their behavior. After the announcement, all players begin discussing the news, as there are many changes to digest. Earth notices that players are excited about the changes, but he fears that players might start bothering the craftsmen who do not have PvP. He decides to pay Black a visit, but is relieved when Black tells him that the entire guild has decided to inform each other if someone picks a fight with them. Black then tells Earth about a new town that has been discovered called Nexia, where all the hardcore fighters have gathered to discuss strategy and fight in the first tournament. Earth decides to find someone he can fight with, but immediately catches attention because of his title. He sees that he has been given the title of Fairy Player, and the only way he can undo it is by fighting another player. He desperately begs the players to challenge him and help him remove his title. Just then, Rona appears and accepts his challenge. She reveals that she is also a member of his guild and has been wanting to meet him since Earth has a special kick ability. And Rona uses martial arts. But since fairies have a soft spot for Earth, Rona's fairy refuses to let her fight. So do the fairies of every other player. Later, we see Earth cooking several Karaij meals when he receives a call from Rona. She is surprised to hear that Earth already knew about the favor she was going to ask him. He then breaks down and screams that half of the server is asking him the same thing. A flashback shows that Earth helped out another player and cooked meals to care for his fairy, but word spread and now he has endless orders. Rona ends up helping him and other craftsmen lessen his burden by selling fairy food. Rona then suggests they head to the new town to look around. When they arrive, they see a huge crowd gathered, all watching a fight between two players. One of the players, Wolf Fairy, seems odd to Earth. When the fight begins, the grumpy, arrogant player obviously loses, mainly because his wolf does not listen to him. Rona asks Earth about his odd behavior. He tells her that it could be because the player is a slave fairy user and hurts the wolf. This is why it refused to listen to him. The player almost hits the wolf again but holds back because, according to Earth, if fairies are hurt too much, they can gain power and fight their master to death. They can then take away their crystal, leaving the player without a fairy. The next day, the arrogant player visits Earth, feeling guilty for treating his fairy harshly. He asks Earth for advice since Earth has the title of Fairy Player. Earth tells him to be gentle and friendly with his fairy. He suggests involving the fairy in fights, adventuring, and sharing meals to win its favor back. As a favor, Earth prepares a delicious meal and offers it to the man, who then feeds it to his wolf. The man gets emotional when the wolf likes it. When leaving, he thanks Earth for his help. Just then, an old-looking player named Silver appears and asks Earth to follow him to a place without people so they can chat. Silver asks Earth if he has met someone named Glad. Earth cannot recall anyone with that name. Silver warns him about Glad, who is targeting players with a Fairy Player title. Silver reveals that Glad was a member of his guild, but lost his cool when he failed to make a contract with his fairy. Silver realizes he is not the only one who failed to make such a contract. Just then, a light Valkyrie appears, a perfect human fairy. Silver continues, explaining that Glad managed to make a contract after the last update. However, his fairy is a dark fox, and he now goes around challenging players to duels. Silver is concerned that Glad is still resentful and believes everyone looks down on him. Silver predicts Glad will show up at the tournament and go all out with his powers and fairy. Earth tells him not to worry and send him off, though he decides to be careful while reserving judgment on the situation. Earth occupies himself with hunting, as it is against the game's terms of service to challenge someone while they are hunting. He attacks a giant bear with multiple arrows and finally shoots it down using the spikes on his shoes, killing the wild bear for good. A new bow art Earth learned proves very helpful in hunting. He also gets an upgrade on his kick art. Earth's first job for the day is to hunt for ore in the mines of Nexia, which he can use to make light metal and steel. He nearly blows up an explosive ore, but manages to safely store it. If it had exploded, they would all have died. He spends the night building weapons from the ores, creating a twisted dagger, arrows, and a metal belt with spikes that can whip and attack monsters. He experiments with the explosive ore and eventually invents two types of oil, naming one the enhanced oil. Using this oil, he causes severe damage to wild bears, killing 3 at once with arrows. He receives an update that he has reached at level 50 in both Wind Magic and Hunting Bow, allowing him to use them together as the own Dust Hunting Bow. This elemental weapon adds magical properties to his attacks. Earth tests it, finding it improves his accuracy and speed. Back in town, the game announces the final players for the tournament. Sway tells Earth he doubts anyone from their guild made it, But surprisingly, Silver and Glad are at the top of the list. Earth is excited to see their fierce battle. At the arena, all the players gather to watch. Using long-distance vision, Earth notices many players with a similar title to his. The most awaited match begins, Silver versus Glad. Glad is as arrogant as described, telling Silver to give up. However, both are persistent. The match starts, and Glad quickly dodges Silver's attacks, having seen them before. Yet Silver, with the help of his fairy, manages to deal damage. When their fairies fight, Glad's fairy evolves into a full human fairy. However, she refuses to remain with Glad, declaring that he lacks the qualities of a ruler. The fairy queen, now speaking as if she were a real person and not AI, challenges Glad to another fight. He accepts, but she stipulates no extra money or a new fairy will be given to him. The fairy queen launches several attacks, electrocutes him, and finally leaves him powerless and exhausted with only 1 HP left. She leaves him to dwell on his embarrassment. Silver apologizes to the fairy queen for not intervening with Glad sooner. The fairy queen summons 3 fairy players, including Earth, and rewards the 2 girls with fairies for choosing not to fight. Earth's reward, however, is a punishment. She declares he will fight her to ensure he receives a better reward. She insists the fight will proceed regardless of the outcome.